your party's view on binding us into that long agreement?
The question is the Trans-Pacific Partnership, what are the party views on binding New Zealand into that long-term agreement?
Sorry. I'm hugging the limelight here. I actually know something about this, and I've been opposed to it from day one. The Trans-Pacific Partnership is not about trade. We trade with all those countries anyway. And the Trans-Pacific Partnership is about transferring more powers to the corporations.
Yeah.
We've already seen what happened with that. I remember when New Zealand Trade Enterprise did a roadshow, and working with exporters, I know how important it is to have an embassy in the country that you're going to. You know, you turn up on day one, you say, what do I need to know, which are the businesses I should avoid, and so on and so forth. That's part of being an exporter. We don't even have embassies in 2 of the countries within the TPP. We don't have an embassy in Peru, and we don't have an embassy in Brunei. And there are no plans to open any. So if the government was really serious about trade with those countries, the first thing they'd do is open an embassy.
Yeah.
For some reason, they've opened an embassy in Colombia, which is the cocaine capital of the world. So go figure. And that actually links to the Panama Papers and the laundering of money and so on and so forth. So New Zealand's first position is we're opposed to it for lots of reasons. You can facilitate trade in much better ways. I get no funding whatsoever to run the New Zealand School of Export. I've talked to the previous government, I've talked to Labour and all the rest of it. We get not 1 cent from government. And we're the only member of the international body, the only New Zealand member. Canada has 60 organisations doing what we do in New Zealand, and they get funded. The Americans have hundreds. So it makes my blood boil when National give over $10 million to a Saudi sheep farmer, but they will not fund us. With that $10 million, I would have set up an endowment fund, and export education for our exporters would have been free. That's the reality. So if you want to know about the TPP, talk to somebody who knows something about it. Thank you.
It's the first time at GreyPower I've heard the words cocaine and Panama Papers put together. Well done. I wasn't expecting that, but Ron knows what he's talking about, and he's spoken about this topic on a multiple occasions that I've heard, and I think it's really, really important. This deal that was foisted upon us and collapsed, thank goodness, was not something that we had access to. It was done in secret. Why do people negotiate in secret? Because they've got something to hide. And the advantages for this deal did not meet the criteria of a trade deal for the Labour Party. Now, it took away our sovereignty to make decisions for our own country. And I'm sorry, exactly what Ron said is correct. It was handing power over to multinational corporations and cutting out our own governments. So if you look at the papers over the last few years, you will see me and my family stand up and go to those marches with anti-TPPA placards because we do not agree with it. And our party has a slightly more nuanced version, which is that we have bottom lines, and currently this deal does not meet those bottom lines.
I'm not sure why I seem to have a different view to everyone else. ACT supports free trade, and as a small country where we are in the globe, we only survive here because we export a lot of goods overseas. And personally, I've been doing that for 15 or 16 years now. I know how difficult it is to enforce a contract on the other side of the world if you don't have an agreement to fall back on. And while the TPPA had some flaws in it, it was a good agreement for the majority of what New Zealand does. But I can't find any of those trade agreements out there that you would tick all the boxes and say this one's perfect for us. But we're worse off without them. And the Americans will find that when they scrap their trade agreements with Mexico and Canada if they go down that path. Any agreement when you form it's a give and take. I haven't yet been able to enter into a contract where it's all in my favour and not in the other parties. Life doesn't quite work like that. But if we don't have them, we have got nothing to go to the international courts to fall back and say these are the rules under which we entered into these agreements. And while it's all very well to say we shouldn't have them, we should scrap them, actually you make life very difficult when you're in the export marketplace dealing with countries on the other side of the world who are just not interested in being able to front up in an international court and have their agreements enforced.
But it's
That's
not an
why
international
contracts
court.
like the TPPA are important. They provide you with some rules, they provide you with some certainty and the ability to get your exports done. Thank you.
Right,
So the Green Party have had a very clear position on this, that the current form of the TPP has got too many flaws. It undermines too much of our democracy, the ability for private companies to take our government to, can't even call it court, because it's not a public court, and to undermine what's important to us. Listen, we as a country want to protect our people. We as a country want to protect our environment. What we have here is an agreement that will undermine our ability to do that. It will force up the costs of medicine because it's extending the patents for many, many years. So it's taking them up to, I think, about 30 years. So those are the types of things that will actually hurt real people. So we're a trading nation. We're built on trade, and we are going to, for as far as I can tell, always be a trading nation. I mean, that is reality. It's not about stopping trade, but it's also about ensuring the protection for our environment, for our people, and for our democracy. And that's what this agreement will undermine.
yeah, thanks.